Okay, good morning, Mr. Una. It is another fine day on September 5th at the Economic Development, Historic Preservation and Environmental Conservation Committee. Boy, that is a fun day. And do we have anybody from the public this morning or any concerns?
Oh, I don't have anybody from the public, but I'll do a quick roll call, John.
Okay,
Yeah, so I've got Trish Bergami and Rita Ogburn McCall online. Doc Horton told me that he can come for doctor appointments this morning. And then in person, we have Clark Henry, Aaron Cassidy Dorian, Kara Parks, Dave Diarpino, I'm assuming Kelly Diarpino, we haven't yet. Chairman Delarada, Dart Schreier, and myself, Laura Robertson.
very good. And we don't have anything from the public, do we?
No, I didn't get anything from
No
the
one. Okay. All right, and we have minutes from August 1st of 2025.
Was Elena coming?
She might be on the phone. She's here.
Oh,
So she's
okay.
either caught up with something or involved and she'll like come to
Yeah.
You give it up? Vote?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, I'll make a motion to accept the August 1st, 2025 minutes.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That,
I'm gonna abstain just because others are not.
okay, makes sense. And that brings us to our resolutions.
Yeah.
And Elena Bennett, sorry, I specifically asked you.
Oh, John's there. I'm like,
I
I
was
was John's sitting right here. I know, right? You specifically asked me for what?
Because we have the resolution to amend fees for the Niskuna Building Department, and we still haven't had that meeting. Do you think that we can make that on there this month, or do you think we should hold it off the agenda, you know?
It's good. I don't want to say for certain, but there's potential if we can schedule a meeting that it gets done. I don't think it's a lot to absolutely update the code itself. It's just a matter of
Making sure we get it right.
yeah.
Okay, so should we just put that to tentative?
Yeah.
Again?
I'll try to get that up.
You have the numbers?
We're not planning to change the fee numbers that we talked about, the 250 and the 500.
Okay.
It was just that the actual code for implementing them wasn't as simple as just a resolution.
You have to do a local, an amendment to a local law.
So we have to have a public hearing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it actually be a resolution to call for.
No, call for a public hearing. We just introduce. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It wouldn't be a
introduce it.
resolution. It would technically be an introduction of the local law. And then next meeting would actually be the resolution. For the hearing. No, so we would at the September meeting, hopefully, we would introduce the local law, set the public hearing date. And then at the next meeting in October, we'd have the public hearing and put the tentative too. Yeah.
Okay, we'll try it.
In the
and-
meantime, though, we can still collect a fee or no?
Not for that in particular. That's not in the code.
The second one is a resolution to take action on a special use permit at 3900 State Street, 25 and 17 South Hagen Ave. I haven't watched the town board meeting from the end of last month. Did anybody speak? So I'll still send you guys, I don't think I ever actually sent you guys I know we talked about it, but the full planning board recommendation as well as the CAC recommendation. With your public hearing, then your next step is to decide on seeker and then take action on the special use permit.
You know, what you should do is two or two.
Just one usually, yeah. Unless you're doing a positive spec and then you just do positive deck, yeah. The CAC did recommend a positive deck. I think we talked about that before. They have major concerns about the single family home coming down. The planning board worked on it for a long time and found a balance and gave you a pretty unanimous recommendation. You might have been split, but
Can we just make sure that that's circulated, like, separately and maybe sooner rather than later, so that the board has enough time to ask me questions before I draft the resolution.
Yeah, because, I don't actually know where the board wants to go on it and it's the
Yeah, I
recommendation.
mean, some of the additional context with that, from the CAC's perspective, was the line for that neighborhood. It is in a CH zone, but there's a natural line that runs through that neighborhood, and this does extend into that neighborhood. So some of the affordable housing within this unit, the CAC was also concerned about the potential threat to the neighborhood once you get the parking lot in there. You know, the next step is to, someone else comes
Right.
along and
Mhm.
progresses. I think ultimately the CAC would like to see that line move in that area.
Like on the zoning map.
Basically move it over and make it consistent with the line that goes all the way through, because it follows Albany Avenue, but then Albany Avenue veers off to the south, so the zone gets bigger and larger. But that was also a big issue as well.
That's a big undertaking, isn't it?
You're on the comment too, right?
I am.
Is that anything that was just like that particular area discussed at all as far as that?
We have discussed, parts, bits and pieces of it. We have not had the major discussion on that yet, but yes, that would probably be a recommendation.
There's a map that we did.
I mean, there was just way more difficult undertakings than that.
It's a recommendation. I'm just explaining it.
I was actually thinking maybe we could, since we've got the zoning code and we're working on the schedules and tables, that we could amend the map while we were doing the zoning code too. It's a pretty simple map amendment.
So we took the initial steps when we were looking at this application to see exactly where the commercial goes into the neighborhoods. And there's a blue and red highlight that shows where some of those areas are. So it stretches from Balltown Road all the way down past where the property is along State Street. And as Darby's saying, it does widen at certain areas. And then there's other almost sawtooth insertions as commercial touches residential. It's worth looking at that map from an aerial view because it shows, I don't want to use the word encroachment, but it just shows the interface between residential and commercial.
Yeah, I think ultimately it would provide clarity to an area, because everybody would then know what's there.
One neighbor across the street, she didn't have the meeting.
He came to the planning board public hearing,
Okay.
yes.
I think it would be helpful for the town board to have any comments that she made as well. I don't know, because the notice requirements are different for a town board public hearing than.
It's true.
planning
Yeah, they
board,
get
so
to
I
let me know.
think, yeah, in fairness, I know she's been very outspoken in the past. I think she's probably the one that's most directly impacted, so.
What's the status with this single family house? Like
Right, it's vacant.
disrepair?
I mean, they say disrepair.
Right.
It could be so. I'll be, it's, somebody can fix that house.
Especially with brick.
You know, their first proposal, they want to take down 2 single family homes. This one is now 1, and they pulled the parking back a little and done a lot line adjustment, so.
There's pros and cons, I think, to the proposal, but this isn't like a typical special use request where like a daycare is going into a church.
No.
It's much, more impactful. So I just want to make sure. I know that there wasn't a lot of discussion at the public hearing, but the town board should have as much information.
Yeah, I can send that all out to them today, and then we can have a discussion at the agenda meeting too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. I put this on here because I know that it's coming. I don't know if Matt talked about it too. We are working on closing out phase 2 of Rivers Ledge, and so we have to accept easements and the water line from them.
And they provided another.
I'm pretty sure they provided the water line stuff. Did Matt bring that up at his? Oh, yeah, okay, I wasn't there.
I didn't,
No, okay. So I'll bring it up here. I believe he has what he needs to accept the water line. And then I will see if I can get what I need to accept the easements. And that's one of the only ways that they obviously can go to final CO because the water line is important. We know that, it had to get re-chlorinated, and I know that the asphalt completed, so I believe it's really at the point where we can accept it now. And then the last one is my kind of standing, so thank you for appointing the zoning board member of appeals at the last meeting. I'm excited. I'll reach out to him, but I have, 200 unread emails right now, but I did see the one you had about making a hello checklist of new board members, and I think that's a really good idea. Yeah, and then, yeah, they'll sign them to Clifton Park. I don't think so, but, Joey hasn't.
Not yet?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we might be meeting somebody.
Okay, well, I just told the
But it's
person that
like
we were
really
appointing that he
desperate.
was a,
Alternate? You
alternate.
want to see if he wants to be a full-time member?
Yeah, because actually, no matter what.
I mean, we're still gonna need alternates and another full-time, right?
Actually, this should
Potentially.
be a tentative resolution because one of them will have to become full-time no matter what, because Bill signed that. So this will have to, this could, so, I had one lady who reached out that she is an attorney who's interested, but she hasn't sent me her resume yet. So I'll reach back out to her, and then we will need this resolution because one or two of them will have to become regular members. Right
But then
now.
if we make two regular, we'll need alternates. We need people. So
Yeah.
if you know anybody full-time or alternates, we definitely.
Okay, so so the first one becomes sensitive and the last one is not. Yeah, so, and then under discussions, we can talk about it, but I'm thinking that as a possible balance, that I could draw a rezone map for the remaining single-family homes. If it's something that the town board's interested in when they're looking at the special use permit. To limit any of the potential harm that could come from the expansion of the Kia.
I mean, I want to just go back to what I was saying, though. I think if this is a concern as to like the creep going in, that should be something that should be addressed in the.
And we are
Like,
planning, we're
going
planning to put
forward.
that in, and we
Okay.
had discussions, the text. My hesitation on your question was the text isn't in the plan yet, but there's a lot of text that's not actually.
Right.
So
I
there's
just-
no sense in the plan.
Yeah.
We want to support commercial on State Street, but it also said that the commercial on State Street shouldn't consume the residential neighborhood. So there is a little.
Yeah, and that was actually in the 2014.
Yeah.
That, but explicitly moving along.
Okay, do you want to go, David?
Sure. Okay, so in August, we had two meetings for the planning board and zoning commission. Recent resolutions were on 2331 Troy Schenectady Road. That's the Heritage Group. They got a sign approval. And also one of the things that came up at one of the ZBA referrals was the lighting on that building. The applicant was excellent with working with us. Revised lighting, turned down lumens, worked with the neighbors' concerns, addressed all of them. And we had that passed at the last meeting. A couple active projects, we covered 3900 State Street, which is the Kia dealership. 3406 Albany Street. This is a site plan application for a special use permit. This is a building that was put up. It's about 24 by 49 feet. It's an accessory structure. There's a single family house on there. They're using it as a Buddhist religious facility. Currently only meeting on Sundays. And we've had a number of meetings with this applicant. It's an interesting project. So that section of town has very small lots on there. The monk that's in residence is at the primary residence there, but there's a decent sized building on the back of the lot. So they've hired an engineer. We've done a site visit. We've taken a look at it. Mr. Henry has done a very deep dive into the code for religious facilities in town, where they are zoned, what the lot sizes are. This has a lot of working factors to it. So it's going to be a pretty big topic of something that we discuss on this coming Monday.
Where is that again?
So it's on Albany Street. If you know where Upstate Guns and Ammo is and the coffee shop right directly behind it,
Okay,
they've actually got a written agreement to use Upstate Guns and Ammo's parking lot on Sundays. It doesn't conflict with them. And, you know, this is a small lot, it's 0.33 acres, and there's 2 structures on it. And it does go down, it bends a little bit. They have a back entrance off of Gassner. So if you know where those apartment buildings are behind there, they have a fenced in yard area. There's a small sliver of a concrete pad that's shared with another neighbor in there. They seem to be very amiable with all the neighbors. They get along, but this is an interesting use of a residential property.
yes. So the structure itself is acceptable. The question is the use.
The structure had a permit. It's completely built out and is being used right now. And we're checking a couple things with the zoning, and then we're going to be discussing the recommendations here to go through. Parking is definitely an issue in that area. And, you know, the restrictions of not parking on the front lawns, going behind the front of the property line. Where can they, you know, do you enter into a permit, and how's that permit transfer over if there's another commercial business that sells? You know, it's not so we have, there's an agreement, like an easement or something we have that would
It's not gonna
transfer.
run with the land. so
It
to
isn't.
speak.
It doesn't have to. If the new owner comes in and they change uses or something, they may say, listen, I am out open on Sundays. This is not a big deal. So
Is there crosswalk right there?
No.
So I think that that's something if you're gonna consider across this, like parking across the street for the planning board to take into consideration the fact that there's a decent amount of pedestrian motor vehicle accidents on Steep Street. And if we're inviting people to cross the street,
Albany Street.
it's Albany.
what's the street? Okay, it's not
Right.
Steep Street. Okay.
But Albany Street does not have sidewalks and has a very, very shallow shoulder, very shallow. So
Like,
it is very tight. And there's no parking on Albany Street as well. You have to park on Gaston.
so how many people can fit in this?
Well,
Church, so to speak.
permit says 140, but I think that they have,
It's just,
It's-
There's so many nuances to the project.
Yeah.
Because it was actually permitted as a garage.
Ah,
So one of the things that we're trying to really take a holistic look at it, because it may have, there's planning board approvals, but then there's also building code approvals, because now it's a
different.
place of assembly versus a garage. So there's a lot of nuances to it that will come into play
Yeah.
during the special use permit application.
But they're using it now.
other reason, yeah. Okay. Next up is One Research Circle. This is GE Vernova. They've come back with a second sign package that is part of the section off of Research Circle. That's going to go to the ZBA only because there's a certain amount of signs that are permitted. And if you've been tracking anything at GE Vernova campus, they have been doing a lot of upgrades there. So hopefully by the end of next year, we'll see a lot of those things executed. 7 Seneca Road has a resolution based on the TDE review. This is revised site work and drainage along the front of the property. So we'll be talking about that on Monday's meeting. For 4240 Console Road, this is a ZBA approved the application for the site plan for the Mizan Kitchen. That's the former Stewart's that was down there. So we're continuing working with the applicant to move that one forward. I don't think it's on.
It is on.
It is on for a discussion.
Yeah,
Just a
yeah.
discussion thing for Monday night. We are currently working on zoning code updates to allow childcare facilities as special principal uses in the independent building in the R1 zone. Not on discussion for Monday, but that's been an ongoing process. Basically comparing where that zoning could fit into that R1 district and how it would work with the current code. Plus, we're also going to be cleaning up some of the language in the code so it's consistent as well. And then 2757 is Aqueduct Road. That's the planned unit development for Niskayuna Harbors. They have gone through some initial reviews with the state on the wetland regulations. I believe they got their 12 items addressed. The next thing is there's a bike path crossing that we are working with them for the town, who is the applicant for that, to get that in the works. They've addressed some of our initial review comments and have amended their site plan to reconfigure some of the units around. They've made an access point over to the river. So it's in the very preliminary stages. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be probably seeing that one through this fall. as well. They will be condos. There's four,
Actually, and there's a few townhomes.
there's a few townhomes. So
Yeah.
there's, I think they have, there's four, I'll say typologies that they have. They just recolor coded them for this application. And they range from 4 to 8 units, I think. I'm not sure if they have a 10 unit one, but they're trying to take it. It's an interesting swath of land because the wetlands zigzag all in and out of it. And what Rivers Ledge did was they kind of worked their development into the way the contours are of the site. And this one has similar features to it. So we're trying to encourage the developer here to take advantage of some of that. Obviously, there's a river connection, the bike path, you know, all the pedestrian access is there. So we want it to harmonize. That's the ultimate goal for that.
Well, they should too, right? I mean, just for a natural use standpoint.
Yeah.
More enjoyable.
Yeah, you know, how do you move through the property
Yeah.
when you do have people that are there? If there's any commercialism that gets implemented in there, how do people access that? Where do they park? You know, meld it all together. That's where these are interesting projects. They take a while, but I think ultimately with the way that the board does their input, we can really steer what we're looking for what our town goals are. Just to see
Will
really.
they all connect? Will they eventually connect that park into the harbor or ledge into the harbor, eventually the casino? That might be a bit of a stretch.
So they're interconnected because they need that, and they have an agreement between Rivers Ledge and Niskuna Harbors for fire access, and there's some common sense that makes the connection there. So the development from there and then the final connectivity into the city of Schenectady is something that might be a larger goal, but if this one's planned as well as the others, then that natural progression can get there. But they definitely, when they're talking about that project, they do identify the connection to Schenectady, what's in that area, the river, all of those components. This project, just so everyone's clear, is geared towards more affordable townhomes and condos. So this would be upstart families or, you know, younger people, and then maybe some empty nesters, things like that. Everything you see out there is luxury condos. There's going to be a mix of that, but I think they're going to try to focus on a part of the demographic that's more of a point price that's a little bit low.
Do you have an idea what the affordability is?
I don't know. I would think that if they're starting in the mid 300s, that may be what they consider affordable, but I don't know what their build out price is. Yeah, they're still in that schematic phase. So it's interesting to see what their concept is going to be. That's the target market that they're going.
No, the reason why I ask is sometimes affordability isn't quite what you think it is, much higher than what.
Well, I think it's still gonna be relative.
Yeah.
Yes.
One Glen Eddy Drive is a Glen Eddy. They have an application in to put a pavilion behind the building, which is on a current concrete pad. I think they use a large tent or something now. But the interesting thing is that their initial application came in and they designed a very nice pavilion, but it's a little high. So we got to get a ZBA referral. We're going to talk to them on Monday, see if that's the direction that they're going to go with. And then the other ones that we're tracking is 2339 Troy Schenectady Road. That's Harry's Mobile. So I believe that's still with the ZBA at this point.
Yeah, that's on for this month.
Okay.
Does
And
that
then,
look like it's gonna go through or?
It's still actually arguing the interpretation.
right. There was is it called a deferment from the initial timetable? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Adjournment, and then, so it's back in. And then the other one that we are tracking is 1748 Union Street. That's the Broadview Bank that moved into the old Key Bank over on Upper Union Street. We so they acquired the property next to it. And there used to be a brick structure house there. It's now gone, and they're trying to figure out how to connect all of that type of stuff, so.
Well, their idea was the parking lot, which we didn't like, right?
Yeah. Then it was a parking lot with a little park pavilion in the front, and then an drive-through ATM, and it was just,
You know, like maybe a food truck pad or something where they can do startup businesses or something.
it's. They got a lot of feedback. I think they're gonna,
Yeah, the CAC was to do that.
Weird spot too. I don't know what.
Well, this isn't the first time this problem has come up. Because, it wasn't, I forget if it was this site or it was another site off Union where they wanted to put a parking lot adjacent and it was denied.
Well, because it needs a use variance. So
Yeah,
they
and-
have to prove that they couldn't put a building on there and make any profit, which, how could you do that? It's a vacant lot, like, how could you not have that lot have some kind of principal use that can make money, like, and as self-created hardship, like, if you take the building down and you're like, oh, I just can't afford to another building back up, I mean, this doesn't work like that for use variance.
Yeah, I think one of the concerns that the CAC had when we looked at the project initially is you put a parking lot in there, we're trying to maintain a downtown facade and structure, and that's not the approach you want to take. That basically breaks up the pattern and is really destructive to the fabric. Now, if they want to put a building up there or some other use up at the street level, then that's a different story. But just to have a parking lot, it's not good planning.
Like people parking in front of the later over there and in front of those, and it's like further up.
Yeah,
So they're not gonna want to park there.
There's a big St. Catherine parking lot and the hotel parking lot,
Yeah.
the church's parking lots are all there.
It's like the worst thing you could do there.
Yeah,
They couldn't come up with a worse idea.
We told them that.
they got the message from our board.
they only got through 2 meetings.
They're working on it.
So that's it for me.
Okay, so zoning board, yep, just 3 residential area variances, and as we just mentioned, the continuation of the code interpretation again. Harry's Mobile, doesn't feel like they need to have a use variance because they feel like their use was grandfathered in, and our what do we call him? Consulting attorney, Mr. Hatz is arguing through our town records that you know, that it has only ever been considered a gasoline service station. So any additional use was kind of creep over time. And we will hopefully have a resolution, I would say, at the end of this month.
It would be nice if that property could look better,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah,
that's part of the goal.
What's
isn't it?
up, I mean, that's, the site plan isn't up right now. It's a code interpretation on whether or not a use variance is required. And that's very technical between what we have in our files and what kind of evidence they have. It's just a very technical process that we're going through right now. Grants update. Haven't heard back on the Climate Smart Communities grant yet for the sidewalks, and the linkage study grant just had a good meeting with our consultant. We've got another meeting scheduled next week. We will, at that meeting, have a timeline for sharing some concepts that we developed from the public outreach. And we will be doing public meeting.
When would that be?
We'll schedule it next week.
Because I think it's important for us to at least give a progress report to the linkage study, because around town, I've heard a lot of discussion about what is and isn't happening there, and I think it's just really important that we
Yeah, we'll
have
do- I mean-
clarity with the town of what's
I was
going
getting
on.
frustrated with that because there were so many different stories flying around. So I called Tonko's office and had, actually it was one of his grants, people who reached out about that. I can't
the safe routes or something like that. She called or contacted DOT, and this person gave us a completely different set of feedback than even the people we spoke with that came here. So there's a lot. I can't even say it's misinformation. There is so much confusion
Yeah.
because we can't seem to get a straight answer about whether or not the recommendations will actually move forward.
We just also need
We should,
to,
wait, can I just set
Yeah.
can I just set something?
Yeah.
The linkage study is a federally funded planning study that is administered by the Capital Region Transportation Council. It does not come with implementation funding. It is not intended, it's a planning study. So and I think everybody wants Route 7 to change now, and I completely understand. The linkage study is intended to make the change, to facilitate the change so that construction money can come, so that all that stuff can come. And we've had the public comment and we've had that discussion with DOT, and we can all get together and say, these are the concepts that we do want to happen. And then we go in ahead and figure out how to fund them. The planning study is about halfway done. So when we start talking about implementation funds, I understand completely.
This isn't about implementation.
no, but I
This is
think,
about what they'll say that they absolutely won't do, and I have a feeling it's gonna be a lot of things that come out of that. When you say-
I think it's important though that people understand the process, because I had multiple people talk to me and say, I understand that we're putting stoplights at every single corner on Route 7. That I don't think has been decided yet, and people, and there's other things, you know, I've heard like, we're gonna put guardrails on Route 7 and make it a highway. So I just think it's really important
I think we
that
also
we
need to-
have clarity on this. And but even to say that, you know, this is what's happened, this is where we are, it's going to take some time to come through it. I just think it's really important because I've been sort of concerned about some of the stuff that people talked about.
So how do we do that?
Maybe we do this service. That's what I.
Yeah.
Should say where we're studying, to share what I've heard as far as timing and things that they know they're gonna do and they would support, and things that are sort of ambiguous. That's what I feel
Yeah.
passionate about. I'm happy to look at that.
Okay. And just also to clarify, DOT is a partner in the study, but they aren't the final say in the study either.
That is not their understanding.
Yeah, I think it's really
Owner
important to
of the
lay out the
road.
plan and all the stakeholders, like the federal government, the state government, the town's roles in this. I just think there's a lot of speculation, and I
There
think we
is.
really need to keep it on track, because I think that it's not healthy for the project. To have all this speculation.
So I think it doesn't hurt to just say, here's where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the goal of the legal study is the same thing that you guys just said. It's just that between the taking of all the public comment, there was a lot of public comments. And then they developed a concept map, which they were then discussing with DOT to make sure that the concepts that they designed would be achievable. And I was at that meeting and we figured out what was achievable and what was not. And really the only thing we took off the table at that time were traffic circles and one lane in either direction. So a road diet got taken off the table. Everything, all the other concepts we're working on, whether or not they stick, are an entirely different thing. But the point is, it's a planning study. We're working on public input. So we've got, you know, what was done, you know, over the last couple of months was really an existing condition survey. Made that very robust website, had the join at your own pace webinar, had a couple of different ways of outreaching to people to get their comments, taking all those comments now and building them into concepts. The in-person meetings will be, here's the concepts, what do you think? What would work? This is why we think that this is a good idea. This is why we think that that's not a good idea. It's still all really just saying, okay, this is what we heard. Here's the existing conditions. This is what we can do. This is what we heard you guys want. Here are some designs that will show that. And that's like what we're looking at. And then you kind of basically then take public comment after that. And then you come up with, you know, treatments that will work on Route 7 over time.
Yeah, a good idea for us. We can state legislators to all of this. they're present and listening to the feedback and a part of that, I think that's only gonna help us to.
Yeah, I don't think, I'm not advocating that it's okay to say we're not done. Just, I'm advocating that
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah.
have clarity.
I mean, we're really not.
Yeah.
No, Laura,
Well,
I don't want
it's confusing because I mean, I think DOT is trying to help with some stuff now. And there's some other, and we've tried for grants that are implementation funding. So when then people are saying, when is, what is the MP study going to do? It's a planning study.
Yeah,
They're actually quite different from when we try to get the implementation fund. Yeah.
I'm not sure that nuance so is shared by the
Even
population
if
in
you
general.
say it, like, they're still not gonna hear it. So we'll start with
Yeah.
this and see what happens. What's the timing that we think for like those, public meetings, like late fall, early?
I mean, yeah, I think we're still actually trying to get a document by, the end of this year, early next year. So yeah, the public outreach would probably be, I mean, we have to give them time from when we announce to the public. So yeah, I
So
would
we'll
think.
say late fall, early.
So where's the guardrail and red light? Is that the social media,
No, this is
just people talking?
people,
It's gotta be
there's
coming
rumors,
from somewhere.
there's rumors. about it.
I mean, I feel like there's people, so many people, I think they're just like,
And it's just conversational. It's like second, third
What?
person, but it's out there. It just needs to be cleared up.
Well, good luck. It's very difficult to get a clear message. these days.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. Yeah, it's just a lot of static and interference.
static, I like that.
But you just gotta make sure it's white noise.
This is, that's it.
The tree council still, I would like to do an email blast. They decided to extend their summer photo contest to the actual end of summer, which is September 23rd. So I'd like to do an email blast possibly today that just says, they're looking for pictures of trees in the summertime where people were kind of like living under them, picnicking under them, building gardens under them, whatever, like, because trees do so much. Big tree over your deck, whatever it is that, is nice when the leaves are all up. So I'd like to send a email blast out about that. I think I said this before, if we can get some good summer photos, they want to try and put a calendar together for the holiday season of all the seasons of trees and pictures from Messina. Yeah. And I know Kara reached out to them and was working with them on the budget for the fall planting, so that email. So thank you for that. They sent a bunch of letters out trying to get interest in the fall planting, and hopefully we'll have a good set of addresses for Ray to.
Okay, the CAC had a light meeting as far as EAFs, but we did talk about a lot of climate smart stuff. So, as far as the greenhouse gas, emissions plan, the DEC looked at it and gave Laura some comments. They're fairly minor. There's just clarification stuff. So we can talk about that. The NRI, we have the final version of the plan and we looked at that. If you haven't looked at it yet, you should definitely look at it. There's a lot of really, really good information.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We discussed going through, and what we're going to do is pick some small tasks, at least initially, and come up with a list of some action items that the town should take on.
Mhm.
One of the actions we did talk about, and there's several parks within the town that are not really known, like the one off Console, Stone Ledge. Fieldstone.
Fieldstone.
I never get that one right. The Fieldstone Park, it's 72 acres, and a lot of really nice parkland, natural parkland. A lot of residents don't know about it. And I think the response we got was, wow, we never knew it was there. So one of the things we're going to start talking about is having sort of like a did you know article, and then maybe perhaps getting a day where residents can walk through various parks in this unit. So this is something that we can work on for the next year or so. We've got to get that in there. trying to sort of highlight some of the natural areas within the town. We spent a fair amount of time also talking about leaf blowers, gas powered leaf blowers. And this is part of the Quietness Luna initiative. And we've looked at some, and we're continuing to look at some communities down primarily in Westchester and Long Island. And there's a lot of different options, in which case they sort of develop a compromise between the gas powered leaf blowers and the noise impact in the neighborhood. So more to come on that. Right now it's pretty early, but we had a light schedule. We spent a lot of time talking about some of these issues. So that's good. We talked about the Lomo initiative, particularly in the former landfill, and how that solved. Very, very light topics as far as that, but really important, smart stuff, which good to have the meeting.
So there's probably several more parks like Fieldstone. I
Oh,
haven't
there
heard.
definitely is.
And how many people have heard of the Reese Bird Sanctuary? And it's not necessarily a park, but
One of
how many people, you know?
one of the challenges with some of the parks, and particularly is they're not well marked.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's part of the problem.
Agent information, I feel like we don't highlight it on the website
Like-
enough, we don't have like a place
Yeah.
to go for information.
Like Fieldstone, you go in there, and if you know where the entrance is, you can get in it. But if you don't know where the entrance
Yeah,
is, you know,
Yeah.
you almost think you're trespassing, and you know that can be easily
Right.
remedied.
Sure.
And you know that's stuff.
And there's only one entrance. It's not like Reese where you can get in.
No, there's actually there's two parcels. One is on the east side, and one is on
South, yeah.
north and south. Yeah, you're right,
Yeah.
north and south.
Yeah.
And like the north side is actually much larger, but it's really difficult. There's actually multiple entrances, but only one is sort of obvious.
Mhm.
The other one, you
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
you're going through somebody's backyard.
Oh.
We just need
We worked on that last
yeah,
year.
bridges and
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
And more accessible for ability impaired, that's probably
Yeah.
one that's in good shape, but the other part that's way bigger.
The
needs.
You're just walking and it needs.
Yeah.
But the south one is interesting because there's bridges that go over wet areas, and then there's actually a really steep area that you can go up. I mean, the topology is really varied.
So the people that live around there, I'm sure. Do they
Yeah.
use it a lot or don't we know?
That's unknown. Well, that would actually be another good thing, is to do a survey of the parks.
Yeah.
Maybe, so let's have a conversation about that afterwards, maybe we can get going.
Yeah. So that's where we stand with comp plan, and not the comp plan, the conservation project.
You want to do architectural?
Sure.
review?
Give a really quick update. We had our August meeting on the 20th. Unfortunately, the owner of 1508 Barclay had a conflict and couldn't attend the meeting. We were going to review his extensive expansion plan for his home, adding a whole second floor. So we had to table that to the next meeting. But we've been reviewing, we always update the architectural review board on planning board projects that are coming through, like Niskuna Harbor. They continually give us a little feedback on things, some of the things that David mentioned, like the spacing, the density, things like that. So it's very helpful to have their input, which we then relay to the planning board as well. There's been some other hot topics that have come up, like LED lighting. They come in different, what are they again, Laura?
Color temperature.
Color temperature. So there's a whole range. The lower color temperatures are a little yellow and the brighter color temperatures are more clear. So there's been some debate about what's the ideal level for identification of people, especially for trying to identify someone. That the more yellow lighting can make it more difficult to see the color of their coat or their clothing if you need to identify someone. So there are good input on some things like that. And also on the new DEC wetland regulations, one of the ARB members is actively involved in getting additional clarity to some of those new rules. So we always bounce things like that off the ARB. So we don't always have a big project going through, but there's a good dialogue on our existing projects and they help round out our responses to some topic.
On the
They're
lights,
doing great.
on the lights, there was an article about the color of the LED light and the effect on wildlife. I know that the bluer lights are more
Yeah.
impactful on wildlife. So there is definitely a balance there.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. That's it. Lauren.
Okay.
Okay, comp plan. Okay, so, we're going through it. We have a list of all the chapters. We have drafts of the land use, economic development, public input, open space. Complete streets. The only one that's really outstanding is the utilities.
You don't say, Dart.
I'm just throwing it out there. We still have a lot of heavy editing to do, and I think we're gonna be really busy. I'll be drafting the historic convention. And the plan is to get it to a draft to the board in October.
So, building department enforcement, the short-term rental codes, I think have been going reasonably well. Like I said before, we have 3 licensed ones. We have 2 that have become long-term rentals and 2, I think that we did a bigger notice and order recently, so they may be going to go in soon. And then fire inspections has also been going well. Kevin has been sending 2 friendly notices, and I think we're finally to the not friendly notice and order for the fire inspections. And again, he's doing all of the fire inspections in Fire District 2 in Sanford Heights, and he's going to do the internal multifamily housing inspections in Fire District 1, which we've coordinated with the fire department. So he's been doing a great job. I'm very happy with him. He's very good at the fire inspections. He's also good at stepping up whenever the other guys are out. So I think he's really been working out, and he's making our town safer with the commercial and multifamily inspections. And he's also bringing in revenue from the inspections that kind of offset the additional costs. So planning department, we're still working on the drainage analysis and the coordination with water, sewer, and engineering. Selected the contractor, I believe we're having, and we had our internal meeting, right?
Selected the engineering firm,
Right.
had an internal engineering, had an internal kickoff meeting. And the phase we're at right now is the water, sewer and engineering department is mapping our existing infrastructure, elevations of catch basin, diameter of existing piping. They're discovering catch basins and piping that weren't on our records. So we're getting a much more accurate map of the infrastructure that we have that will then transfer to the engineering firm to do their analysis. So we're keeping them in the loop. You know, everyone's in step. It's really off to a good start. They got delayed a little bit due to the paving schedule that prevented the water, sewer and engineering departments from documenting some of the infrastructure that they need to, but they're wrapping that up. So it's off to a good start.
But he's still got, he's got a number of manholes that have to be pulled and measured down, which is heavy duty work. But he's trying to get, Cameron's been doing a lot of that. He's trying to finish it up. Council board sidewalk, you have to do that meeting, or you can do it, but I'm happy to go with you if you want. Fred. Yeah. And then the Winnie Road easement, I don't have any additional information on. Again, Doc Horton had to miss the meeting today. I think his next Metroplex meeting is this month anyway, though. So we'll probably get him at the next meeting. You have anything, Elena?
We just have the one case pending right now.
Did the Palmer Ave one went to court this last week, right?
That's the one.
Oh, that is the one? Oh, okay, yeah. You have anything, Rita? Oh, you're muted, Rita. You've been so quiet the whole meeting long. You're still muted.
She's still,
That happens every once in a while.
I can't unmute you or I would. I wish I could. No, it's still muted. Okay, now we can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, we had a really great meeting, our last meeting until our power went out, but our last Historic Preservation Commission meeting. Okay, so one of the things that we addressed was, okay, our student is working on the temple, you know, that was formerly the George Westinghouse Jones house. And she's doing very well with that, you know, and we hope to see a paper from her soon. Okay, one of the things that what was suggested was the Aqueduct Railroad Station. Okay, Carol noticed that there's signage put up by the Discovery Schenectady group, and it was done out of Metroplex, and that we might have one for the Aqueduct Railroad Station, as is the Niskayuna Railroad Station, because there's one there. Right, there's no building structure there at the Aqueduct Railroad Station, but there is a station master's house across the street, which is probably privately owned, so you wouldn't want to put it there. But you know, to have one just as a marker, you know, that would be something. So I wanted to contact Metroplex and find out if they'd be able to, you know, or the group, Discovery Group, if they would consider putting one of the signages there. Okay. Also, Doc Horton, he texted me a few minutes ago to let me know that in August, Metroplex did not have a meeting.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, that's a side thing. Okay. One of the things that we wanted, the most important, we spent a lot of time discussing and thinking about questions for the write-up for the comprehensive plan. All right, for the Paul Schaefer homes, because that seemed to be something. And one of the complaints that we had was that the commission was taking too much time, since about 2 years now, off and on, you know, discussing the Schaefer homes. So, you know, in an effort to move forward, okay, thank you, town supervisor, because when I explained to her the situation, she said to write it up. Okay, so that's what's going on right now. We're writing it up. Okay, mostly finished for the you know, cursory. But now we're going to do our deep dive and have a format for the comprehensive plan. Okay, so that will take care of that whole situation. All right, so other than that, we're okay.
Could I inquire as to the Schaefer Homes summary, or Rita, what was the issue with that?
Well, the issue is that it's clearly, well, to most people, that it is cultural. And I don't know where this came about that they were historic, but I mean, you know, people who have bought Schaefer homes who felt like they were shortchanged or whatever, they're going to have to take that up with whoever sold them these houses or whoever put out that information, you know. And from what I can understand, it probably was a while ago, but you know how things go, they just snowball. So, you know, I mean, from consulting, you know, with the historians, all these different people, and this has been going on for like 2 years. I even discussed it with Dave Gibson, who actually wrote this, whose book came out this year, and I discussed it with him 2 years ago. So, you know, it's redundant, and a lot of it is explanatory, but well, let's just say some people are more culturally astute than others. And so it's easier for them to receive it. Now, for the homeowners, you know, I understand the disappointment, you know, and anguish, because if they bought those homes with the notion that they were historic. Now, you know, that is something that might be a problem, but that's something that they're going to have to reconcile. That's not for the town to do. You see, they're going to have to find out exactly what's going on, and, you know, so maybe there's measures that they can take for restitution. I have no idea about that, but, you know, listen, it is what it is. All we can do is just, you know, write the information, do what we need to do, and just move on.
So I think part of the conversation, because we've talked about this in the comp plan, is a house can be tied to an historic event and part of history or a particularly famous person. But there's also a cultural element to that, which there's this gray area in this definition, and we're still trying to work through it. It's not to say that the Schaefer homes are not valuable to the town of Niskayuna and don't deserve special treatment or recognition. It's more of a cultural heritage situation as far as for the houses and other buildings in the area. So
Exactly.
our Niskayuna landmarks, which could be different Niskayuna cultural sites that are important, and we're working through that angle there. We're trying to get this term, but Reed and I have had a long conversations over a lot of hours, and I finally realized where Rita was coming from.
But it won't change what the.
It won't
Schaefer
change.
Homes committee is
Yeah.
doing or anything.
Right.
No, it's not going to change anything.
Exactly. They get the same treatment. A cultural relevance has the same treatment as historic.
So
Right.
So
But
there's
one of my questions, excuse me, but one of the questions I wanted to ask is that, I mean, that the nature preserve, why isn't there something there, or is there something there dedicated to Paul Schaefer? Because actually that's where that interest should be.
His actual house on St. David's Lane you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about the nature preserve.
Oh, the Rice Sanctuary?
No, not the Rice Sanctuary. Didn't he advocate for the Niskayuna Nature Preserve?
Oh, the Lisha Kill. Yeah, I do think he advocated for the Lisha Kill.
Right. But that's what his work is built on.
Mhm.
You see, it's not built on the homes. The homes were a thing for the people who bought the homes. But that's not what his life was built on. His life's work was built on. His fame was built on. Do you see what I'm saying? Because you had multiple people building here. And if you're saying 500 houses throughout this area, I mean, you have how many houses? You see what I'm saying? He was doing that to support his family. This is what he was doing. And it also was counterintuitive to his work as you know, as a conservationist.
We can talk about it.
I think we have that when we go.
Yeah. I don't have anything more. Thank you, Rita.
All right, thank you.
Does anybody else have anything?
Oh, one other thing, on the Consol Road sidewalk. So the two big issues I had to speak with Mr. Cosselman, the homeowner, on the size of it, right, the width,
The easement. Yeah,
but how wide is that gonna be?
it's on the plans that I sent you. I don't know what it is off the top. of
All
my
right,
head.
we'll take a look at it.
And
And then no cost to him, right, but some type of compensation, I'm sure he's gonna talk about.
In my drawing of the sidewalk, it doesn't have conversations. I think probably, like, you probably have to do some kind of a assessment to get a fair value of it. Appraisal, yeah, which are expensive. But, that could be an next
That's
step.
good for just that.
Just that, yeah. And then, one of the other concerns he had mentioned to you was like privacy. So that design that you can share with him, it has, landscaping along the sidewalk. So it shows the essentially you get the road, then you have the swale, then you have the sidewalk, then you have landscaping, and the easement includes all that.
Very good. I'll take a look at it.
Okay, yeah,
Before I talk to him, I'll give you a call.
if you need,
Good, good, good. Money is scarce. Okay, is there anything further for our economic development meeting? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we are
Aye.
adjourned.
thanks, Rita, thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
You.